When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them.
Heard the rumor that Barack Obama and Jennifer Aniston had an affair that ended his marriage? People that I respect, some that I even love, who may or may not watch this show.
Was Barack Obama's presidency just a well-dressed illusion? A smooth-talking cover-up hiding secrets the public was never supposed to question? That's the kind of explosive question setting timelines ablaze right now.
And that's the thing is, so the Bidens and the Obamas hate each other because Michelle Obama is very good friends with Hunter Biden's ex-wife. So that's led to a significant problem where they don't like Hunter. And if you don't like Hunter, Joe doesn't like you. Yeah. So I would not be surprised if Holmes is right on with this of like, oh, well, why don't we do this?
It's like, oh, man, you give us problems, maybe you can have a problem or two.
And guess who lit the fuse? Katt Williams. In one of his now viral stand-up routines, Katt didn't just crack jokes, he ripped the wrapping paper off the glossy image of America's first black president.
I've not been funded. They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves.
While the world applauded Obama's calm presence and smooth delivery, Katt cut through the noise. He didn't mince words, calling Obama a white-friendly black man. A made-for-TV product cooked up to comfort the mainstream, not rep the hood he claimed to be from.
I mean, there's, not to add insult to injury, but there's a Daily Mail report out today saying Kamala Harris's marriage may be on the rocks. Like everybody's on the rocks. Again, I will say I love the Daily Mail, but the sourcing appeared weak. It was like people who know the couple, but like, I don't know if it's any better than that, but they're saying she's blaming him in part for her loss because he turned out to be such a hot mess liability. You buy it?
This wasn't just stand-up, this was a statement. And behind all the laughs, the question hit hard. Was Obama the real deal? Or a symbol crafted to keep people satisfied without actually shaking the system?
At all, but if it is true, it truly would be a political earthquake in Democrat circles. Never mind America. I don't remember a presidential divorce in modern history.
But Katt didn't stop at just calling out Obama's vibe. He hinted at deeper game. He dropped subtle bombs about cultural engineering, suggesting Obama's legacy wasn't built on rebellion or disruption, but on compliance. That stings even more now because those so-called jokes, they're starting to sound like warning signs.
Gotta spend a minute on the Obamas because there seems to be some momentum picking up in the rumor mill about their marriage. All right, I'm gonna bring you what I know.
Fast forward to today, and we're watching the ripple effects of that presidency play out in real time. And one flashpoint in particular has got people ready to explode: the push for LGBTQ mentors in schools. Critics say it's not about diversity, it's about reshaping young minds.
So the truth about Jen and Barack is that there is no truth.
There is
it
no
is
truth.
Untrue. You know Barack Obama.
I've met him once.
Met him once.
I know Michelle more than him.
What is there a truth about you and Michelle? That we see nothing.
That is not true.
And guess whose name keeps popping up when these arguments get loud? Obama's. Some folks are calling it a pro-homosexuality agenda. Yeah, it's a loaded term, but this phrase keeps coming back around in conservative circles. During Obama's time in office, LGBTQ visibility didn't just rise, it exploded. From rainbow lights on the White House to major federal protections, the shift was loud and undeniable. Depending on who you ask, it was either a long overdue celebration of rights or a bold step into controversial territory that pushed way past what some folks were ready for.
She is not sorry.
They are looking forward. All the women in your life are looking forward.
All the women in my life are looking forward to being able to live a more normal life.
Yeah, but still not entirely normal. Obviously, everybody's under the microscope at all times.
A little bit more.
And you're staying in Washington, D.C., which is unusual for an exiting president.
Fast forward to today's classrooms and the debate has evolved. But the tension, it's boiling over. Now it's not just about teaching kids diversity. The new battleground? Whether kids should be mentored by adults chosen specifically for being LGBTQ. Some call it progress, others call it a slippery slope. So is this true inclusion or a form of ideological grooming that's been in the works for over a decade?
For instance, this is a magazine that came out a couple of weeks ago. In fact, said the truth about Jen and Barack. So that is
that was of all the calls you get from your...
And then boom, came this interview that still sends shockwaves through the internet. Just weeks before she went in for what was supposed to be a simple throat procedure, Joan Rivers stepped up to a mic and dropped a bomb. "We already have a homosexual president," she said with zero hesitation. And then came the knockout. "You know Michelle is a transgender." She said it like it was common knowledge, like everyone was just pretending not to see it. People lost it. Some laughed it off, others were shook. But a quiet group, they paid attention. Joan didn't flinch. She didn't laugh or take it back. When the reporter tried to get her to explain, she calmly doubled down. A transgender, we all know. But what did she really mean by "we all know"? And how was she so comfortable saying something that most celebrities wouldn't dare whisper backstage?
She's doing great in the school she currently attends, and our attitude is that if you have a teenager and you really want to make sure that they never talk to you again, then pull them out of high school right in the middle.
Yeah, you're right.
Of sophomore year. So look, they've made so many sacrifices.
They have, and they didn't get to decide that.
Exactly. So I want to make sure that they get.
Let's keep it real. Joan Rivers lived in controversy. She roasted everyone, offended entire communities, and wore her network bands like trophies. But this wasn't her usual savage fashion critique. These were explosive claims aimed directly at the heart of the Obama image.
And for me, going high is not losing the urgency or the passion or the rage, especially when you are justified in it. Going high means finding the purpose in your rage. You know, rage without reason, without a plan, without direction is just more rage.
And then, just 2 months after that explosive interview, Joan Rivers was gone. Not from cancer, not from any known condition, but from a routine throat procedure that spiraled into a deadly nightmare. Her oxygen levels dropped fast, her vitals crashed, and the team in that clinic, they froze. No one acted fast enough, and she never woke up.
Look at that and go,
no, it is not.
No?
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, you know, the thing about what I learned in those 8 years is that home is where we make it, and we were in the White House for 8 years, but it wasn't the house, it was us in it. It was our values and our love for each other, and we just moved that to another house. So.
A freak accident? That's one version, but the other theory, it's way darker. Internet sleuths were quick to jump in. Conspiracy corners lit up with accusations. They called it a silent hit, not by force, but by negligence. The claim? Joan said too much. She exposed something high-powered people didn't want out there, and someone made sure she'd never speak on it again. That theory got more traction when reports surfaced that the procedure Rivers had wasn't even properly authorized. And to make it even messier, the clinic admitted fault. Melissa Rivers, Joan's daughter, they ended up getting a malpractice settlement, but for the believers, it wasn't about mistakes. It was about muzzling a woman who crossed the line.
Of a marriage on the rocks. The question now isn't if, but when. If I had to guess, they will wait until after the inauguration to announce it. Timing, you know, is everything. And yet the story doesn't end there. For months, I've heard Jennifer Aniston's name tied to Barack. At first, it seemed ridiculous, but the rumors have remained steady among New York.
Now, officially, the Obamas were never tied to any of this, not even close. In fact, Barack personally sent Melissa a handwritten letter praising Joan for her brilliance, her fearlessness, her impact. But here's where things get real murky. If what Joan said was nonsense, why respond so publicly and so gracefully? Some said it was class, others called it straight-up damage control. But Joan wasn't the only one stirring the pot. A resurfaced interview with Larry Sinclair, a known con artist with a wild history of shady stories, brought old rumors screaming back to life. He claimed that back in the late 90s, he met Obama in a bar, where things allegedly turned from lines of a white powdery substance to a late-night hotel hookup. Tucker Carlson gave Larry Sinclair airtime, and boom, the internet exploded. Old clips of Joan Rivers started making rounds again, and people began hearing her words with brand new ears. Whether you think these claims are pure fantasy or something deeper, one thing's clear. The smoke still hasn't cleared. And that's exactly why the fire keeps burning. Because at this point, it ain't just about who Obama was, it's about the legacy he left behind. That whole LGBTQ mentorship debate in schools, that didn't just pop up last week. That's been brewing for years. So now people are asking, was this the hope and change we voted for? Or was that just the marketing pitch, hiding the real agenda in the fine print nobody read? And just when you thought the whispers were done, the rumors turned personal. Comment sections, radio shows, podcasts, all buzzing with claims that Barack and Michelle aren't even a real couple anymore, that they're living separate lives behind closed doors, that Michelle skipped Trump's inauguration and Jimmy Carter's funeral, not for politics, but because she just couldn't keep pretending anymore. Now here's where it starts getting really messy. What happens when the gossip lines start connecting? When that street interview with Joan Rivers doesn't look like stand-up comedy, but starts sounding like a confession? When folks stop asking if the Obamas are hiding something and start digging into how deep it goes? Because here's what's got everyone spooked. It's not just what Joan said, it's how she said it. Calm, director. No sarcasm, no just kidding. When asked if she was serious, she didn't flinch. But things took an even weirder turn when folks started digging into what really went down in Joan Rivers' final hours. According to federal health reports, the clinic she visited wasn't just sloppy, it was reckless. Not only were they unprepared for any type of emergency, but they straight up ignored basic medical protocol in ways that left experts stunned. The anesthetic dose she was given, way too high. Her oxygen levels dropped for minutes before anyone did a thing. And get this, doctors allegedly started a procedure she never even consented to in writing. We're talking about Joan Rivers, like one of the most famous women in America, getting treated like an anonymous walk-in at some back alley clinic in the middle of Manhattan. How does that even happen? How does someone that iconic, even with money, power, and status, vanish over something that should have been safe and simple, especially just weeks after saying some of the boldest things ever uttered about the Obamas, the most protected couple in American politics? Now, maybe it's all just bad timing, but maybe it's not. But let's be real, this whole thing ain't just about Joan Rivers anymore. This rabbit hole, it runs way deeper, straight into the glitzy core of Hollywood's spotlight. Because if Barack Obama wasn't just a president, but a cultural architect, then maybe the real stage he's been working on is the entertainment industry. Over the years, we've seen TV and film go through a serious makeover. Stories that once sat on the fringe, now they're everywhere. Inclusion didn't just become popular, it became mandatory. And while all of it was packaged with sparkle and rainbow flags, some folks in the biz have started to whisper, was this shift really natural, or was it scripted from behind the scenes? And one name that keeps bubbling up in those whispers, Jennifer Aniston. Now, Jen told Jimmy Kimmel she's only met Obama once and that she actually knows Michelle better. Sounds like a clean-cut denial, right? But for some reason, it didn't kill the noise. It only made the rumor mill grind harder. Because now the question isn't, were Jen and Barack secretly dating? It's way bigger. What if their rumored link wasn't about romance, but about strategy? Some folks believe Obama didn't just walk away from politics. He repositioned himself at the center of a whole new kind of power play. Behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, they say there's a low-key alliance forming, a brain trust made up of A-list actors, elite producers, and high-powered showrunners, all pushing a shared mission. And guess who's sitting behind the curtain with a production company and a global spotlight? A former president. If that's not textbook soft power being used to shape hard reality, then what is? Meanwhile, the whispers on Obama's personal life keep getting louder. The internet's been buzzing with questions about Michelle's absence from major events, like Trump's inauguration or even Jimmy Carter's funeral. People are watching body language, noticing little changes during their rare public outings. They're not holding hands, they're not making eye contact. Something feels off. And it's not just fringe blogs saying it. It's coming from podcasts hosted by people inside the DC bubble, the ones who know what's really going on. So when those hosts start hinting that the Obamas live separate lives, people listen. This ain't just some random tabloid noise. It's the kind of story that, true or not, had to be buried to keep the myth of America's first black president untouched. Because if even one piece of Larry Sinclair's tale is legit, if even a sliver of Obama's past was swept under the rug, then we gotta ask, what else got erased before we ever saw the script? In a world where celebrities get dragged over old tweets in hours, how did one of the most watched, most powerful men on earth avoid this storm for over a decade? Whether Sinclair is a total fraud or a suppressed truth teller, his claims hit deeper than just gossip. They tap into that creeping fear that we're not just watching a polished political brand, but living in a version of history where key pages were never printed at all. And just when you think the noise dies down, bam, it sparks again. Here's the wildest part. For every denial that hits the headlines, another breadcrumb appears. A cryptic post, a skipped event, a weird vibe on camera, and that's what keeps this whole thing alive, the silence. Let's be real, America loves a power couple, but what it loves even more is a power couple falling apart, especially when that couple has spent years preaching unity, trust, and transparency. So when people feel like they've been sold a fantasy, even the smallest crack feels like betrayal on a national scale. But maybe this ain't even about breakups, filtered pics, or who shows up to what funeral. Maybe it's about something way bigger: power. The kind that doesn't need an Oval Office or a campaign trail. The kind that slides behind the scenes, silently guiding what we watch, what we value, and how we live. Maybe Obama's real legacy ain't the policies or the speeches. Maybe it's the reach, the cultural control that still flows through media, Hollywood, and beyond. So ask yourself, are we looking at the truth or just scratching the surface of something way more staged than we ever imagined? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is this all just noise, or are the signs too clear to ignore? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.